My father made your yoke heavy. I will make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips. I will scourge you with scorpions.
This is the true story of one sentence that broke a kingdom. The new king of Judah had inherited everything his grandfather David had won. By the end of one afternoon, he had lost 10 tribes. A young man came home from exile in Egypt to claim a kingdom that had been promised to him on a torn cloak years before. There would be a calf at Bethel and a calf at Dan. A king's hand would shrivel at his own altar. A pharaoh who once gave one of them shelter would later strip the other of every gold shield Solomon had hammered. The crack these two men made never closed in their lifetimes. 3 centuries later, both halves fell to empires that had not yet risen when the kingdom split. But inside the smaller half, the line of David was kept alive. One day, a child of that line would mend everything these two kings had torn. Stay with us until the end. The kingdom they broke would be rebuilt, not by them, not by their sons, by a king they did not live to see. Subscribe to ARC Films channel. That means the world to us. Let's begin. Solomon was the wisest king who ever lived. He built the temple of the Lord. And by the end of his reign, those same hills were covered with altars to foreign gods. It started with one foreign wife, then hundreds. The treaties Solomon needed brought him princesses, and each princess brought her gods. The hills around Jerusalem filled with altars, Ashtoreth of Sidon, Chemosh of Moab, and Molech of Ammon. The worshippers of Molech burned their children. Then the Lord spoke to Solomon.
Since this is your attitude, and you have not kept my covenant, I will tear the kingdom away from you and give it to one of your subordinates. For the sake of David your father, I will not do it in your lifetime. I will tear it from the hand of your son. Yet I will leave him one tribe, for David my servant, and for Jerusalem.
This was the kingdom Solomon had inherited from his father David. 12 tribes from Dan in the far north to Beersheba in the deep south. At its center, Jerusalem. Inside Jerusalem, the temple. 3 times a year, every tribe came up to worship one God. The strongest Israel had ever been, and it was about to be cut in half. Jeroboam, son of Nebat, was a young officer in Solomon's service, a man of Ephraim set by Solomon over the forced labor of his own people in the north. One day, as he walked out of Jerusalem, the prophet Ahijah of Shiloh found him alone on the road. Ahijah took off his new cloak and tore it into 12 pieces, one for each tribe of Israel. He held out 10 of them to Jeroboam.
Take 10 pieces for yourself. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I'm about to tear the kingdom out of Solomon's hand and give you 10 tribes. If you do whatever I command you and walk in my ways, I will be with you. I will build you a dynasty as enduring as the one I built for David, and I will give Israel to you.
Solomon heard. He sent his men to kill Jeroboam. Jeroboam ran. He crossed the wilderness to the court of Pharaoh Shishak. There he waited. Then Solomon died. Solomon's son, Rehoboam, 41 years old, traveled north to Shechem. All Israel had gathered there to make him king. But the northern tribes were not coming to Jerusalem to bow. They had a request first. They had sent to Egypt for Jeroboam, the man Solomon had once tried to kill. He came back and stood with the assembly. Then the people of Israel spoke.
Your father put a heavy yoke on us, but now lighten the harsh labor and the heavy yoke he put on us, and we will serve you.
The request was reasonable. Solomon's temple, his palace, and his fortified cities had been built with the forced labor and heavy taxes of the northern tribes. They were not asking to leave the kingdom. They wanted the new king to ease the load. Rehoboam asked for 3 days to think. He went first to the elders who had served his father. They had watched Solomon rule for 40 years.
If today you will be a servant to these people, and serve them, and give them a favorable answer, they will always be your servants.
Then he went to the young men he had grown up with, the friends, the princes who had never paid a tax.
Tell them, my little finger is thicker than my father's waist.
It was a boast of cruelty. Even the king's smallest finger would press heavier than his father's whole hand. On the 3rd day, Rehoboam stood before the assembly at Shechem. Every northern elder was there, and Jeroboam stood among them. The eyes of 10 tribes were on a man whose father had ruled with wisdom. Rehoboam ignored the elders.
My father made your yoke heavy. I will make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips. I will scourge you with scorpions.
The assembly heard the king, and Israel answered him. The cry that came back from the tribes was not a request anymore. It was a divorce.
What share do we have in David? What part in Jesse's son?
To your tents, Israel! Look after your own house, David!
Rehoboam sent Adoniram, the official who had run forced labor for Solomon, to handle the rebellion. Adoniram was the face of the heavy yoke they were trying to throw off. They stoned him to death where he stood. Rehoboam barely reached his chariot in time. He raced south. In one afternoon, the kingdom of Israel split in two. The 10 northern tribes became the kingdom of Israel under Jeroboam. The 2 southern tribes, Judah and Benjamin, stayed with Rehoboam under the house of David. The temple of the Lord stood inside the smaller half. From this day on, there were 2 kingdoms and one God watching both. Rehoboam reached Jerusalem and gathered an army. 180,000 soldiers of Judah and Benjamin, ready to march north and crush the rebellion by force. Then the prophet Shemaiah came to him with a word from the Lord.
This is what the Lord says. Do not go up to fight against your brothers, the Israelites. Go home, every one of you, for this is my doing.
For the first time in days, Rehoboam listened to a wise voice. The army went home. Up north, the tribes crowned Jeroboam king at Shechem. The cloak Ahijah had torn was now real. 10 tribes, as promised. Jeroboam began to build. He fortified Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim. Then he crossed the Jordan and built up Peniel. He had a kingdom now. He needed an altar of his own. 3 times a year, the law of Moses required every man of Israel to go up to Jerusalem for the appointed feasts, to the temple, to the city of David. Jeroboam's people would walk south through Rehoboam's kingdom and stand on the same Temple Mount where the king they had abandoned still ruled. Jeroboam asked himself a question.
The kingdom will now likely revert to the house of David. If these people go up to offer sacrifices at the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem, they will again give their allegiance to their lord, Rehoboam, king of Judah. They will kill me and return to King Rehoboam.
The man given a kingdom by a torn cloak decided to keep it by other means. He made 2 calves of gold. One he placed in Bethel, just inside his southern border. The other in Dan, in the far north. Now, no one in his kingdom had to travel far to bow to a calf. He gathered the people at Bethel.
It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Here are your gods, Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt.
It was a line older than the kingdom. Aaron had spoken almost the same words at the foot of Sinai, 500 years earlier, while Moses was on the mountain receiving the law. Aaron's calf had cost Israel 3,000 lives that day. Jeroboam was setting up 2 of them. He built shrines on the high places. He appointed priests from any tribe willing to serve, men who had no claim to the altar. He invented a feast on the 15th day of the 8th month, 1 month after the true Feast of Tabernacles, on a day he had chosen by himself. He climbed the altar at Bethel and burned incense with his own hand. A man of God came up from Judah while Jeroboam was standing at the altar. He walked past the king and the priests and addressed the altar directly. He spoke not to Jeroboam, but to the stones.
Altar, altar. This is what the Lord says. A son named Josiah will be born to the house of David. On you he will sacrifice the priests of the high places who make offerings here, and human bones will be burned on you.
The crowd heard him. Jeroboam heard him. The altar had been named in a prophecy that would wait 300 years to come true. The man of God gave a sign. The altar would split open today, and the ashes on it would pour out. Jeroboam stretched out his hand from the altar.
Seize him!
The hand that pointed at the man of God did not come back. It locked up, dried out, hung dead at the end of the king's arm. At the same moment, the altar split, and the ashes spilled across the stones. The king of Israel, with one shriveled hand at the end of his arm, asked the man of God to pray for him.
Intercede with the Lord your God, and pray for me, that my hand might be restored.
The man of God prayed. The hand came back. Jeroboam invited him to dinner. The man of God refused. The Lord had told him not to eat or drink in this place. He had to take a different road home. He turned and left. After everything, Jeroboam did not change. He kept appointing priests from any tribe willing to serve. He went back to the altar at Bethel with the same hand that had just come back from death. While Jeroboam was building calves in the north, Rehoboam was building walls in the south. He fortified 15 cities for the defense of Judah: Bethlehem, Lachish, Hebron, Adoraim. He stocked them with food, oil, and wine. With shields and spears, he set commanders over them. Judah was smaller now, but it would be hard to take. And something else moved south. The Levites of Israel had no place under Jeroboam's new religion. The king had replaced them with anyone willing to serve. So they left. They abandoned their pasture lands and walked into Judah. With them came every man whose heart was set on seeking the Lord. They came home to the smaller half of the kingdom where the temple still stood. For 3 years, the priests and the faithful made Judah strong. For 3 years, Rehoboam walked in the way of David his father. Then he stopped. Once his throne was secure and his kingdom strong, he abandoned the law of the Lord, and his people abandoned it with him. High places appeared on the hills, sacred stones, Asherah poles under every spreading tree, even male shrine prostitutes in the land. The same practices the Lord had once driven the Canaanites out for. In the north, Jeroboam was bowing to calves. In the south, Rehoboam was building shrines on hills. 2 kings on 2 thrones, walking different roads away from the Lord. And there was war between them all their days. In the 5th year of Rehoboam's reign, Pharaoh Shishak came up from Egypt against Judah. He was the same Pharaoh who had once sheltered Jeroboam in exile. Now he came with 1,200 chariots and 60,000 horsemen and foot soldiers without number. Libyans, Sukkites, Cushites. He took the fortified cities of Judah one by one. Then he turned toward Jerusalem. The princes of Judah and the king fled inside the city. The prophet Shemaiah, the same one who had stopped the war 4 years earlier, came to them with a word from the Lord.
This is what the Lord says. You have abandoned me, therefore I now abandon you to Shishak.
There was some good left in Judah, and it came out now. Rehoboam humbled himself. The princes humbled themselves with him. They said one sentence:
The Lord is just.
4 words. Enough. The prophet returned with a second word.
Since they have humbled themselves, I will not destroy them. My wrath will not be poured out on Jerusalem through Shishak.
Shishak still entered the city. He took the treasures of the house of the Lord. He took the treasures of the king's palace. He took everything, including the gold shield Solomon had made. Then he turned home. Shishak never came back. But Judah would now serve Egypt for a time, and they would learn the difference between serving the Lord and serving the kings of other lands. Rehoboam replaced the gold with shields of bronze. They were ceremonial, carried by the palace guard whenever the king went up to the temple in procession, and afterward put back in the guard room. He never made gold again. Around the same years in the north, Jeroboam's son Abijah grew sick. The king's calves and priests could not tell him whether his son would live. So he turned to the only voice he had ever trusted, Ahijah of Shiloh, the same prophet who had once handed him 10 pieces of a torn cloak. Ahijah was old and blind. Jeroboam knew the prophet would not bless a king of golden calves, so he sent his wife.
Go, disguise yourself, so you won't be recognized as the wife of Jeroboam. Then go to Shiloh. Ahijah the prophet is there, the one who told me I would be king over this people. Take 10 loaves of bread with you, some cakes, and a jar of honey, and go to him. He'll tell you what will happen to the boy.
She did as he said. She walked to Shiloh in common clothes. The Lord had told Ahijah she was coming. The blind prophet sat in the doorway and waited. When he heard her footsteps, he spoke first.
Come in, wife of Jeroboam. Why this pretense? I have been sent to you with bad news.
The disguise was useless. Ahijah delivered the word.
Go, tell Jeroboam that this is what the God of Israel says. I raised you up from among the people and appointed you ruler over my people Israel. I tore the kingdom away from the house of David and gave it to you. But you have not been like my servant David, who kept my commands and followed me with all his heart, doing only what was right in my eyes. You have done more evil than all who lived before you. You have made for yourself other gods, idols made of metal. You have aroused my anger and turned your back on me. Because of this, I am going to bring disaster on the house of Jeroboam. I will cut off from Jeroboam every last male in Israel.
Then he gave her a word about the boy.
As for you, go back home. When you set foot in your city, the boy will die. All Israel will mourn for him and bury him. He is the only one in the house of Jeroboam in whom the Lord has found anything good.
The boy was not being spared from the judgment. He was being spared from the disgrace that would fall on the rest. He alone in his father's house would have a grave. He alone would be mourned by Israel. The rest would die unburied, with no one to remember them. The wife of the king of Israel got up and walked back to Tirzah. As soon as she stepped over the threshold of her own house, the boy died. While both kings ruled, The men of Israel and the men of Judah kept falling along the border between them. Rehoboam and Jeroboam, who had stood on the same ground at Shechem, never reconciled. Border raids, contested towns, the slow grinding of a war that had begun the day the kingdom was cut in two. In the south, Rehoboam died first. After 17 years on the throne, he was buried in the city of David. The bronze shield stayed in the guardroom. He had 18 wives, 60 concubines, 28 sons, 60 daughters. From his many sons he chose Abijah as the heir, and Abijah took the throne. 5 years later, in the north, the Lord struck Jeroboam down. He had reigned 22 years in all. The kingdom given to him on a torn cloak passed to his son Nadab. The two calves still stood at Bethel and Dan, and a prophecy still hung over the dynasty. Nadab reigned 2 years. Then Baasha, an outsider from the tribe of Issachar, rose against him at Gibbethon and killed him. As soon as Baasha took the throne, he killed every member of the house of Jeroboam. Not one of them breathed when he was done. The word the Lord had given through Ahijah at Shiloh came true to the last man. Abijah inherited a smaller kingdom, a stripped temple, and a war he had not started. His name was the same name Jeroboam's son had carried. One Abijah was buried in the north. The other now wore the crown in the south. The kingdom never came back together, not in their sons' lifetimes, not in their grandsons. 200 years after the split, Assyria came. They carried the northern kingdom out of its land and scattered them among the nations, the calves at Bethel and Dan, the priests of any tribe, the high places on every hill. None of it had saved them. The Israelites had walked in all the sins of Jeroboam and did not turn from them until the Lord removed them from his presence. The 10 tribes were never seen again as 10 tribes. 3 centuries after the split, Babylon came for the south. The walls of Jerusalem broke down. The temple Solomon had built was set on fire. The fortified cities Rehoboam had ringed around Judah fell one after the other. The crack made at Shechem held until both kingdoms were gone. And yet, in the Babylonian exile, the prophet Ezekiel was given a vision. 2 sticks of wood, one marked for Judah, one marked for Joseph and Ephraim, the tribes of the north. The Lord told Ezekiel to take the 2 sticks and join them in his hand until they became 1 stick. 1 people, 1 king over all of them, never 2 again. What Rehoboam tore with 1 sentence and Jeroboam sealed with 2 calves, God promised through Ezekiel to put back together with his own hand. The kingdom they broke would be rebuilt, not by them, not by their sons, not by any king on either throne, by a different king, born in Bethlehem of Judah in the line of David, in the one tribe Ahijah had said would remain. His name is Jesus. He was the one King Ezekiel had been promised, the one in whom the 2 sticks would become 1. This story is the foundation of everything that came after it in Israel's history. The crack they made never closed in either lifetime. Choose your counsel carefully. Rehoboam had wise elders and reckless friends in the same room, and he asked both. He chose the friends. Most damage in our lives happens not because we lacked good counsel, but because we asked for it and ignored it. Convenience is how idols enter a life. Jeroboam did not lose his faith in a moment. He moved the altar closer to home so his people would not have to travel. We do the same. We move what God commanded into something easier, and we tell ourselves it is the same thing. Humility can save a city. When the Egyptian army stood at the gate of Jerusalem, Rehoboam and his princes said 4 words: "The Lord is just." Those 4 words turned an unstoppable invasion into a survivable one. Confession is shorter than we think it needs to be. A miracle in the hand does not change a heart. Jeroboam's hand shriveled at his own altar. The prophet prayed for him, the hand came back. He climbed the same altar with it the next day. Sometimes the answer to why hasn't God shown me a sign is that signs do not move the human will. Repentance does. The promise survives the smallest tribe. When everything looked diminished, fewer cities, less gold, half a kingdom, the line of David was still there, not because Rehoboam earned it, but because God kept it. Centuries later, a child of that line was born in Bethlehem of Judah, in the smaller half they could not destroy. His name is Jesus. He is the king who finally healed what these 2 men broke. Tell us in the comments, what Bible story should we cover next? Subscribe to ARC Films channel. That means the world to us. And if this story moved you, watch what happened when the line of David hung by a thread. The story of Athaliah, the queen who tried to wipe it out. Thank you for watching.